All right. Good evening. My name is Ryan Coss, and I am here to welcome you to the mini camp session that we're having today on time management, organization in the college planning process. Today, it will be myself, and I am the Assistant Director of Admission at Loyola University, New Orleans. And then we also have Justine.
Hey, Justine Worthington, Director of College Counseling at Cape Fear Academy. We're based in Wilmington, North Carolina. Thanks for being here tonight.
So for everyone joining us, we know there's a variety of students and participants from freshmen to seniors, and you're all welcome here. We're going to go through a few different things for you to take as a resource and hopefully help you through your process as you navigate, whether it's your sophomore, junior, senior year, or even freshman year getting started early. So we're going to get it kicked off. Saw this down here. So some of the topics we're going to hit tonight, you're going to see timelines and checklists. So important on getting organized, how to actually get organized, meaning how to keep all the information together. And we have some resources for you that will help you with, organizing in different ways. If you like to have things printed out, binders, you like to do it electronically, it'll be a big help to you. And then we'll also go over next steps. So things for you to keep in mind on what you should be looking forward to, what's coming down the pipeline, and all those many things that come with the college admission process. We mentioned there's going to be some resources available through the minicamp college presentation links, and we'll also add some added for you that we're going to discuss throughout the presentation.
I did just throw that in the chat, the link to the handout, if anyone wants to follow along on the links that we mentioned.
Perfect. All right. So I'll take this one with timing, a timeline and checklist. So as you mentioned, one of the most important things is being organized and really understanding the timeline and the process of getting organized, and then also knowing what you have to do, in what order, what's coming down the pipeline, and who you need to talk to about this. So we're going to spend time on managing your time, knowing what to do with the available time, because it's very important during this process, making the most of it, researching opportunities, getting organized, whether you're talking with your counselors, teachers, parents, maybe you have relatives, maybe you have older siblings who have gone through the process. So a lot of things come into play there. And then you really want to identify some of the strategies, some you may take from our presentation today, to help you maximize the time for the things that are most important. And you will see that. We have a few different checklists available to you. I mentioned that. You'll see at the very bottom, this is a free handout that our university hands out, and this is just a general thing for you to use and apply to anywhere that you're looking at. And you can find it at the link there, and you'll see these kind of 4 bubbles on the right side. You'll see that when you get to that website, and it is resources for you and your parents. So you can go through and get organized, see what you should be doing freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, summer of junior year, senior year. A lot of questions about, who do we ask? What do we ask in the college search process? I don't know where to start. We have an option for that too, and then general information to help you. Justine, anything to add in here?
Well, and that's the thing. I would love to know, if possible, if anyone, you can even drop it anonymously into the chat or anonymously into Q&A. Do we have parents in the room? Are there students in the room? Just so we know a little bit more about who is sitting in here with us. If you think about it, you can do that. And then, I just think these resources, Ryan, the resources that you provided from Loyola, they're priceless. And all of these samples, you can't click on them necessarily on your screen, but in that handout that we sent to you, you'll find the link to the handouts that you're seeing right in front of you. And these are for the parent, the checklists. And as a school counselor, this is exactly the type of checklist timeline that I'm sending out to my families. And on the next slide, there are some more examples of what timelines look like. This one came from College Board. So while, the Loyola resources are fantastic, there are many resources out there. And it's really where, based on your comfort level, organizations that you've worked with in the past, many of you are associated with College Board because you have taken PSAT or you have taken the SAT. College Board is that company. They provide a lot of college planning resources. And this is just a screenshot of what they offer on their website. And we won't, I'm sure there's another session where you can go into the details of the timeline. We also can stay back at the end and do question and answer. Ryan and I can answer anything about a typical timeline for students. This one, just so you know, the screenshot that I took here is from junior year. So this is a pretty typical timeline for a junior, but you can find in Ryan's resources, you can find on College Board and different places, timelines that go all the way back to what should I be doing as a grade 9 student? What should I be doing as a grade 9 parent? So you find your place in the timeline and you pick things up there. But I think there's a lot of power in understanding what exactly is before me. And a lot of times, what should I have already done by now? And not to get yourself overwhelmed, but just to see, oh, I should probably have these boxes checked before I move forward. And so finding yourself in a timeline and getting yourself situated is definitely important. And this was just a checklist. Like Ryan said earlier, timelines are where you are at in the process. Checklists are more of the very small details. Have you done this? On this is another screenshot. I pulled this from College Board. There's, for instance, pay application fee. It's on that second image. Pay application fee. There isn't a date associated to that because you're going to have to pay an application fee for all the different colleges that you apply for, possibly. And so, these are just the minutia. This is the little tiny details that take place along the process. So once you establish a timeline, then once you're within your timeline, you create that checklist. Okay, I am in fall of junior year, or we're in the winter, spring of maybe your junior year. Maybe we're in the winter, spring of your sophomore year. Find where you are in your timeline and decide what your checklist should look like.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in here as well. So also from the college and university side, it's really important to really have an understanding of a few different things. One is that the universities, especially the universities that you may be looking at or applying to, they will have different types of checklists or student portals, and you can actually go in and see your application status, see what documents are due, see what the dates and deadlines and things are coming up. So don't feel that it's just on you to then go out and find these dates and deadlines and be worried that you may miss one. And there's going to be a lot of resources there. Myself as a counselor, I work with students from the Southeast region. So I would work with our students, and every university will have a counselor that works with a student from your area, and they will be there to also, again, help you be in communication. You may get, a text message or an email that says, hey, so-and-so, just want to let you know that this is now available for you to go check out. Go check your email or go log onto our website and view some of these resources. So again, there's going to be a lot of information that is given to you along the way, because I know sometimes that tends to be the questions we get from students and parents. It's, I've done, A, B, and C, but I really don't know what comes next, or how do I find out where this information is? How do I find out about opportunities that I don't know exist? And again, we will do our best to kind of send you that, but it also helps, as we mentioned before, in the timeline, especially as you are working into your junior and senior year, doing your own research, going onto websites, talking with, whether it's your school counselor, if you do have a school counselor, teachers, or other resources to kind of get you some of that insight. So again, these are some of the more fine details for sure that you want to keep in mind, because I know there's some that are even on the resource that I mentioned before from Loyola that we don't go into this much detail, but from the high school side, you're going to really need to know these things.
Agreed.
All right. Getting organized. So we mentioned, especially gathering tools and staying organized, as we mentioned several times already. And I know I will actually pass this over to Justine, because I know we mentioned this. We were talking prior to our presentation about the college folder, and she's mentioned the college folder and how that works for her students. So do you want to kind of lead this one off, and then I'll jump in?
Yeah, one of the first things that we do with our students, and you can do on your own, is to create that college folder. I just call it a college folder. And what that looks like or where that comes from can be up to you. You'll see some places where they will recommend a physical folder and a digital folder. I find that most students do fine with just a digital place to keep all things. And my students tend to use, we're a Google Drive school. So all of our documents are kept in a Google folder, and we call it the college planning folder. And that's anything at all. Resumes can be dropped in there, essay work, any of these checklists. So in the earlier slides, we showed you checklists and timelines, and all of those kinds of things can be dumped into this folder. And then students and their supporting adults can all work together in this one central location, leaving comments for one another, helping each other stay accountable. Well, helping students stay accountable, but having those support people there as well. But other examples outside of Google would be OneDrive. So that's Microsoft users. You can certainly use OneDrive. Evernote tends to be a really popular app. It's especially mobile friendly. So I know students love to be on their phones. If they could do everything on their phone, they will. And Evernote might be for you if you're that student. Evernote can also be shared with other people. And I think what's neat about the digital world is that you can establish kind of a team. You can establish a support team and allow access from different individuals depending on what their relationship will be to you in that college planning process. And that's the beauty of digital folders. Again, and I didn't mention on the slide, but just remember when you're naming things, I encourage all of my students to adopt a last name, comma, first name, and then whatever the document's called. That way, last name, comma, first name, whatever your document's called. And if you go and download something like I'm downloading my resume, it's already named. And for me, it would be Worthington, comma, Justine, resume. I download it, and every time I upload it to a college, it already has a good file name. The college already has it established in my file, of course, but it never hurts to have a good file name for things. So just starting to get into that habit, if you are going to keep digital records, to be naming things consistently, name things with your personal name so that you can keep track of it. And if you're someone who's going to be utilizing someone who's helping other students, for instance, some of you have school counselors, college counselors, independent counselors, you want to make sure that person isn't just working with you, they have other students. And so naming your documents appropriately is going to help that person stay organized as well, so that they know exactly whose document they're looking at, which folder they are in. And calendar wise, I also encourage my students to create calendars. And I say whether they want to tape it to their kitchen cabinet, if they want to create a Google Calendar. Some folks prefer the good old fashioned planner. I don't know, Ryan, are you a planner person, or do you have everything in a digital calendar?
So I have transferred everything into a digital calendar because of what we said before. You know, like many people now on my phone, I have access to everything. So I can be on my computer, I can be on my phone, and I get updates. And that way I can't really have an excuse to miss anything, but I could also send a quick message if something comes up and I have to get something done. It's reminding me on my phone. So I definitely use my phone as my planner.
And there are definitely folks, I know I was a planner person. You couldn't rival my gel pen collection. I would sit down at the beginning of a month and just go to town on my planner. But now that I do have access to digital calendars, there is some sort of, you can sync things across different platforms. Google Mail does a great job of, you get an item in your mail and you can turn it into a Google Calendar item, or you can turn it into a task. And so there is a small plug for going digital if you haven't made the jump yet. But whatever you are using to keep yourself on task, a calendar is essential. Calendars are going to be a physical or an actual visual of this is due here. I had one student who had printed calendars. And by the way, there are links. There's a link to how to set up a Google Calendar. You could also Google how to set up an Outlook calendar, which is the Microsoft product. But at any rate, the paper calendar, I had a student print a paper calendar, and they made copies, and they would share one with their family. They would update it often, but they would sort of shade or color in, like, these 3 days I'm working on this application. And then they would color in another, they would shade these 3 days and say, these 3 days I'm focusing on this college application. If that would work for you, try it. Because sometimes more than just knowing when your deadline is, it's when am I going to work on this? And visualizing, seeing a calendar of your month and seeing your week laid out, you can start managing your time more effectively. And what Ryan and I both know about this process is that it can come very fast, and it can become very intense quickly. And deadlines will start to stack up. And if you apply to more than one college, there's going to just be a lot of things coming at you at once. So visualizing how you're going to handle this 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, we have found is incredibly helpful for our students.
Yeah, and again, I'll kind of add and highlight some similar things. So to the point of being organized with some type of folder or something, wherever way is best to keep it organized, you're going to need it for multiple reasons. Because depending on how many schools you apply to, which nowadays we hear students apply to a range of schools, every school can be very different, from their testing policies to special programs and deadlines. So again, I'll mention, because I'm at Loyola, so we have different dates and deadlines for our honors program or for our social justice scholarship. And early on, I try to mention to students as they're applying, hey, if you can, put this reminder or this in your calendar, just put it as a reminder. So that way it tells you, I need to submit my application for the honors program by this date. And this year was December 1. So it always helps, because as you continue to listen to different schools, you're going to hear different dates and deadlines, and it at a certain point will just sound like a mosh pit of just words and dates and things from different organizations, and it can get very confusing. And that's why we say, getting organized early is always the best. Work on it. You can categorize things, especially in your folders, based off of the universities, the programs. Even if you have little notes, I know I've seen students that they've come to different universities I've been with, and they make little notes on visits. If they go to a college visit, they get to see the campus, they kind of write little notes like pros and cons of what they like, what they didn't like. So when they go back and look at all of their visits and all of their information, they can kind of piece things together and say, okay, this is the university I'm really leaning towards, that really stuck out to me. So a lot of really great things. This one I'll kind of get started for us. So when it comes to getting organized, so we mentioned, using one email address, and for many students and parents or families that are a part of our presentation tonight, I'm sure you've already received many emails from many universities and many different topics. So if you are separating an email, if you're using a separate college email, one for students, definitely making sure it's an appropriate name, but also using something that you will have access to, that you will keep track of. I mentioned before, how do you hear about certain things that come up? Well, we send you information, but it's only as good as you actually go in and look at it and see what's actually there. So if you say, oh, well, I missed the deadline, but I didn't know about it, but you got 5 emails from our university, well, we're trying to reach out, and we're trying to access, you and get you set up on time. So definitely, I know it can be a lot at times, but use it to your advantage, please.
Can I make, email.
Yep.
It's something for school counselors out there, or for any of the adult supporting students out there. Using a school email is ideal. Typically, the students are already checking it for homework purposes or for communication from school. But nevertheless, if your student is using a school email, just remember that when they become a senior and they graduate sometime over that summer, it is likely that the school, the organization that provided the email address, may archive their emails. And so one thing that we do with our students in May and June is we help them to identify anything that they want to save and keep and forward to themselves in a personal email, because sometimes those high school emails don't last forever. It's fine for now. It's ideal for the college planning process, but one day in 2023 or in 2024, whenever your student is moving on, that email may no longer, it may not longer exist in existence. So keeping that in mind. If it's a personal email though, just as long as it's an email the student wants to use for, I would say as long as they want. I always tell my students, you're always going to have this professional email that sort of could change throughout time, but there's going to be one constant, and it's your personal email. And so while this process may not be the best for the personal email, because students haven't necessarily set up their personal email accounts to handle how many emails they're going to get and the kind of importance of emails they're going to get, that personal email is something that you and your students can start to work together to establish, because one day in college, they're still going to want to have a personal email. One day as a professional, they will probably still want that personal email. So just some little thoughts about email. And I think the last thing I always like to remind students about is email, there's a reason colleges are starting to text you students, and it's because you're not answering or you're missing things in your email. And I don't blame you. I have seen the inbox of a typical high school senior these days, or a junior, and there are many, many, many messages. So what we like to say is unsubscribe early and often. Unsubscribe early and often. And if you ever need help with unsubscribing, you can ask any, adults around you. You can ask your school counselor. You can ask, you could even email the college that's emailing you and say, could you please remove me from your mailing list? And that's okay. But making sure that you unsubscribe from emails that you don't want is going to help you manage this in the long run. I know it's a tedious process, but there's a reason email can feel horrible sometimes. And it's because it's a way that everyone can get to you, and they're going to send you these messages. So, Ryan, I'm sure your school probably has an easy way for them to get off your mailing list.
Yeah, and so as I mentioned before, we send you emails, but we also understand if you're looking at other schools, if our 5 emails turns into, let's call it 50 emails, if 10 schools are sending it to you, times that, times all the other things that happen. So definitely, if you're going through the process and you decide, or you're getting messages that you no longer want to get, right on the emails, right on the text messages, you can say, hey, just nicely, because we have students that try to be funny, but nicely respond and just be like, hey, thank you. I'm no longer interested in receiving the messages, but please remove it from your list, and it's perfectly fine. We want to help you get to the right places and get you information that is useful, and not get you overloaded and immediately just say, what, none of these communications are going to help me. So definitely, again, that's an important piece. I know certain universities will use different methods, and texting is popular. And typically what will happen is, when you're going through the process, especially on your application, one of the big things that you will be asked is how you prefer to be contacted. So if you prefer to be contacted by text or email, and that will be what is used by many institutions. So if you do put a text message, if you do put text messages, then you will get text messages more often. But again, try to distinguish what is coming from an automated message at the university and what is coming from a real person. So that way, who to reach out to if you have questions, and then what's just kind of an update regularly. Deadlines.
If you need help with creating a good email address, that's the link, and it's in your resource document you received.
Yeah, perfect. Just moving along, deadlines. So we mentioned this several times already, in using that. So I'm going to pass this over, because I know we mentioned you had a good method with it.
Yes. And this sort of goes along with that calendar, although the calendar helps you with more of an awareness of, what do I need to do when? How can I visualize my entire month and say, this is when certain things are important, or I have a huge event or something big in my family, or something I need to commit to this weekend. So I know I need to work on things a week before. That's where the calendar can really come in handy. Tracking deadlines, though, specifically, there are a few tools for you to do this. And this is where you put everything, say, on one page. You can see it all as soon as you open this up. So these links, if any of you have them open on your computer, you're going to see them. And as soon as you open them, there's going to be a lot of colors and a lot of lines. I love things like this, but not everyone does. So as soon as you're going to find the right tracker for you. So one way you can do this is by that college search spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is going to allow you to name every single school that you are interested in. And then it's going to let you break down things like, what deadline are you looking at? Are you looking at an early deadline? Is it a regular decision? Is the school a rolling? Are they going to have rolling admissions? It'll help you with, do they have financial aid documents that you need to get filled in? And when is that deadline? Do they have special scholarships that you need to apply for? And when are those deadlines? And again, this is all happening. It's all taking place in one screenshot. It's happening right here in one spot. And that's the beauty of spreadsheets. While a calendar is important and it's complementary to this process, and you should have yourself a calendar, it's not always easy to just like look at the whole year or look at your entire semester of your senior year and say, okay, what is it that I need to handle? This spreadsheet will give you that. College Board also has a nice checklist. There are a few fewer lines. It's not quite as complex. So you decide where your comfort level is as an organizer. If you love spreadsheets, if you love color coding, if you love filters, Some people are like, oh, no, no, no. If you love that, then that college search spreadsheet is going to make your day. If you would prefer something just a little bit more simple and you know that it might feel overwhelming just to fill out the spreadsheet itself, then use something like College Board's app checklist. And that way you can, it only, I think, has 4 colleges at most at a time on a screen. So you can track 4 colleges, 4 deadlines, 4 financial aid deadlines, and it is in bite-sized pieces. So yeah, whatever is your way of organizing, I just pick one, at least find a way to organize. And I think this is an appropriate place to mention, some of you at your schools will also have college application management tools, and a college application management tool can come in the form of Naviance. Some of you have Naviance at your school. Some of you will have Score at your school, Maya Learning. Okay, so there are a bunch of different manager tools that your counselor will have set up. If you're logging into these, especially as a senior, logging in daily or logging in weekly at least, and making sure that you're tracking deadlines and figuring out, when are things due? Has my counselor been able to send my transcripts? That's that one-stop shop where you can kind of log in and keep track of everything. So if you don't know if your school offers a college application management tool, ask your counselor, set up a meeting. It's never too late to set up a meeting with your school counselor and see what kind of resources might be available to you.
Awesome. And definitely when it comes to next steps, this is probably one of the most important things. We have everything and we have all the ways to get organized. And I know when we were preparing for this topic, we were talking about really who are the people who can support you through the process, whether it is parents, guardians, counselors, teachers, college admission professionals. So this is what we wanted to kind of go through and let you know the tools to complete all the tasks and get you set up for going forward. So when you're identifying your support team, regardless of where you're at, some schools have a one-on-one relationship with a school counselor. Some schools have a school counselor, but maybe you're at a larger public school and there is one counselor or teacher for your class of 600, 700 students. They're not going to be able to help you in the same way, but it doesn't mean that you are left out on your own. Reach out to teachers. Teachers have gone through the college process and helped you and can help you. But also remember, you can use us, especially for the college side, the college admission representatives. So as I mentioned, my role is to work with students from the Southeast region. So I work with all of our students from the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and Puerto Rico. And I am the primary contact for a student at any level. You do not have to apply to then be in contact with me. You can reach out. I had a student reach out this morning who is a sophomore who has lived in the city but moved out and wanted to know more about programs or opportunities that were available. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not gonna, say, oh, sorry, delete or push till next year, maybe I'll respond. That's not the way that it works. We respond and we want to make sure that we can get you the information as early on as you want. And asking some of these questions, if there's certain verbiage that we've mentioned or things that you see that you're not familiar with, it is okay. If someone says, hey, submit your FAFSA and you have no idea what that is, it's okay to reach out to the university and say, hey, I was told something about this FAFSA, but I really don't know what that is. Can you maybe explain it to me? And that is okay. Nobody's going to look at you and say, well, why don't you know what this is? This is kind of a red flag. That is what we're here for. There are a lot of things that have changed in the last 2 years, especially, but since maybe your siblings, parents have gone to school, and trust me, I understand. My sister, younger sister, is a junior in high school. I went through the same exact thing with her. She was saying things to me and I was like, whoa, this is very different than when I went to school. But it's also, good to be able to, again, reach out and connect with these people. So I recommend, reach out to different college counselors at different schools, learn about the different universities, your school counselors, your teachers, all a resource, and then family and friends as well. So you may have other people who have maybe attended a school, gone through different programs. They can definitely be a good resource, especially if they have, experience going through some of these things. Do you want to jump in? Anything that I kind of missed there that?
Well, I do want to encourage you all. I didn't quite catch where, what states folks might be from tonight. But for instance, North Carolina, we have something called the College Foundation of North Carolina. And the College Foundation of North Carolina is just this massive resource pool for the future planning process. It's everything from understanding budgets, understanding how to apply to college, which classes you should be picking in high school, or where, just different things, scholarships. And your state likely has a foundation or a resource pool like it. We don't have a list here tonight, but if you need help locating a resource pool like that, we are happy to help, because that's another place. If you look at this list and you think, I'm not going to talk to my college counselor, I'm not going to talk to my school counselor, my teachers, I'm still too nervous to reach out to a college, and maybe your family and friends feel overwhelmed about the process as well, that's your sign. Go find a foundation like, for instance, North Carolina's College Foundation. And there's another great resource for you all. So as far as then gathering materials, so next steps. So like we said, this is okay. You have this information, you know what you need to be organized. What is next? And you're identifying that support team, and now you're gathering your materials and information. Materials and information, for instance, something we promise you're going to need to know. Now is a great time to identify any sort of personal identification number. So for some folks, that's going to be your social security number. Other identifying information like your full name, your date of birth, phone numbers, address, things like this, you're going to need to start gathering and be prepared to provide it on application materials if you are requested to share those things. So it's not too late now to identify that. Your high school code. This is another item that we sometimes see. Students don't realize that each of their high schools have been coded with a number. That code is also called a SEEB number, and I provided a link for you to be able to find your high school's code. You don't have to memorize it. And in fact, oftentimes, if you just type in your high school name, a college portal will be able to locate your number. But sometimes it is helpful to have that number on hand, especially if you're emailing and you don't know the address of your school and the name of your school may be a more common name. That SEEB number is going to be distinctly identifiable. Making sure you have your hands on a copy of your high school transcript, awareness about where you are, or like what your courses are looking like and what kind of grades you have and when your anticipated graduation date is. All of these things will be asked of you in the application process. So making sure that you have that ready and on hand. And then another quick one is just score reports from college admission tests. Should you choose to take those college admission tests, where some colleges are asking for ACT or SAT scores, you'll want to make sure that you know how to access your scores and eventually how to send your scores. For most of you, this is all coming, in the next couple of months. It might be coming in the next couple of years, but having an awareness of things that colleges are going to ask you for these things, having that awareness and being ready to provide them if necessary is going to help you feel a lot less stressed when maybe a deadline is just bumping up a little too close and you feel like you have to scramble. We don't want you to feel that way at all, of course. And then over there, attend info sessions. Brian, you know how important those info sessions are. Sign up for them, right?
Yep. So info sessions for sure. So again, and I will be honest, especially in the last couple of years, there are so many info sessions, and it can be a lot, especially virtually, because there's so many different opportunities for you to see things. But now you're going to see a lot more representatives in your area. So if you're looking at interacting with people in your area, you'll see that a lot from universities. And I guess the good thing that has come from everything is that they are available. So I know we had a question about, even this presentation, it will be available, and there are a lot of info sessions out there. So this one will be available. There will be others for you to join. So as you are moving through the process, there will be questions that come up, and you may have questions on, financial aid, housing, how does the application process work, writing, test optional versus test blind. And there will be resources for that. And again, if it's something that you can't join an info session, go to some of the resources, like I mentioned, where I've had conversations with students and families all the time, explaining these exact things. So it really just depends on what is best for you. Sometimes an info session is great on giving you the general information, but you have more questions after that, and you want to know who to ask. So all the sessions can be really helpful. There's a lot of topics really to kind of help hit on many different areas. So they're out there, whether it's through the regional universities, regional counselors. You will see different larger college fair associations and programs that will also be out there. So take advantage of them while you can. Most of them are free as well, which is important. So you don't have to pay anything for any of these resources. So join them. I also wanted to mention when you're gathering materials, just because I thought of this and we've had questions. So if you're a student who falls into the DACA category, or if you're an international student and you're curious about how that process works, sometimes there are things that you want to, just kind of rule out before you go through the application process. Again, that's a good opportunity for you to connect with the university. Just kind of get things in order and say, hey, I just want to know, if my process is any different, what do I need to provide? Because that makes the process way less stressful for you, knowing that you've already shared that. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, is this going to affect me? What are the resources? Can I still get opportunities if I look at and attend this university? And again, those are all conversations that we are more than happy to have, whether it's, individually, if you come to a campus visit, any of those things. So again, really good points. Anything else that you had? Because I think we're pretty much at the end here, and this is our contact. And I mentioned that we did have some of the resources. We've included them in the chat for you. The free resources that we had through Loyola. This is the link again down there, the free handouts. And again, they are general, open for you. So print them out, share them, sell them if you want. No, I'm kidding. Don't sell them. I might get in trouble. But keep them. They're yours, and adapt them as you need to. That's what they're there for. We do have time, and we don't have to rush everybody off. If you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We can definitely answer them for you as we kind of round off the presentation.
And I wanted to mention one link that I added to the handout that we didn't have in the slides. There are resources out there. If you, like we said earlier, you're not close with your college or with your school counselor, or you don't have teachers, maybe friends or family, anyone that you feel maybe can support you in the way that you need. One of the links I have in that handout is for the Matchlighters program. And Matchlighters is a program that you do have to apply for it, but it is completely free college counseling. You will be paired with a counselor, and they will help you through the process on an individual basis. So check that out if you think you'd like to have some additional support. It's, like I said, free, but check out your communities. Look, there are a lot of really incredible community organizations. I know here in Wilmington, our library, we're constantly hosting programs and offering essay help, or just different things. Programs like this one tonight. Help is out there. And if you feel like you can't locate those resources in your community, Ryan and I are happy to help you with that. We have colleagues across the southern states that we would love to get you in touch with and help you find those people who can help. But hopefully these tools and these tips are a good starting point. I hope you all are so ready and eager. And even if you have a stack of gel pens that you just can't wait, like me, I hope that you have a lot of fun marking up your calendars and color coding your spreadsheets, and having a little bit of fun with this process. And no matter what you decide to do in your future, whether it's college, gap year, work, hopefully some of these tools will last you a lifetime of happy organization. I'm an organizer, crazy person. I love organizing things. So these things I hope last you forever.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, we want to thank you all for taking time. Hopefully, again, as we mentioned, hopefully this is a good resource for you. Please take advantage of the resources that we provided. Feel free to reach out if you do have any questions. Like I said, our contacts are there. Sometimes questions come up, and hopefully we will see you down the line and have good news for you through the process. So have a great night, and thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you at the next session.